Hi everyone, this is Grace, and today I'm going to walk you through how I made this Christmas wreath set. So let's go. Now I am doing something a little bit differently. I sped up this entire video times 2. Normally I do my tutorial videos here on YouTube in real time, but I just thought I'd mix things up a little bit. If you've watched my other slower videos, let me know in the comments. What do you think about this? This is still a lot slower than you're going to see in any of the sped up videos, because those are sped up times like 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. Like it just depends on what I'm doing at the time. So anyway, I digress. This is my new Christmas wreath class. This is my advanced Christmas wreath. I also have a beginner one. You know how hard it is to say wreath, especially wreaths, plural. This is 6 designs, I believe, and it uses actually a donut cookie cutter. Fun fact, I agonized over whether I should do a donut or a circle or like an actual wreath cutter, and clearly I ended with the donut. I just thought it made it a little easier to make all of these look like wreaths, but if you use a circle, totally fine. For something like this design, you just flood the entire thing green, and then you do the wet on wet on the outer edge as I'm doing here. So had to do some classic designs and maybe some slightly less classic. I don't know. Played around with 2 different kinds of wet on wet. This is the first one. I love this set. I don't know why it took me so long to do like an entire set of wreaths, but this is so classic Christmas. The color scheme here, we're keeping it very classic. We've got this beautiful red here, which is deepened a little bit with the tiniest bit of blue. There are 2 different greens. We have this rich forest green, which is, it's like starts with as a traditional green, but it's got some extra blue and a tiny bit of brown, I think I added to it. Yeah, to like richen it up. And then the green, the other green that's in here is a mint green, which is, I'm completely blanking. This is why I love having classes, because I actually take notes on how I do everything. And obviously in the classes, I tell you like, this is how I made the different greens. I don't go so specific to be like 2 drops of red, 1 drop of blue. I don't do that, which does annoy some people, but I don't know. I just don't operate that way. I'm like, make it a green on the yellower side and add extra yellow. I don't know. So I don't remember what the mint green is, because it's like blue, you add a tiny bit of yellow, but then I think I might have added brown to it. I'm not sure. That's in the workbook for this class. This here is supposed to look like snow. Tell me it looks like snow, okay? Added some edible glitter, totally optional, but I thought it really gave like the snow vibe. I'm living for this. And then this technique comes up over and over again in this set. This is the classic, what is this called? Like sweater technique. It's this braided pressure piping situation. Remember, this is sped up times 2. This is not just numero uno speed. The way that you do this is you start by piping a bead. And then as you pull away from the dot, you release pressure and you pull towards the cookie, which creates this teardrop shape. And then you want to nestle them into each other to create this braided situation. So I did this in 3 different applications on this set. So if you don't like this technique, you're in for a ride with this one. I had to add 2 bows to this set. My friend that reviewed my design, she was like, where are the bows? And honestly, I hate doing bows. Whatever. I've never been a bow fan. I find it really hard to do a bow well. This is the only kind of bow I will willingly do, which is just like, a very simple lined bow. I don't know how to describe that. Oh, it's like snowy vibes, right? Someone tell me, right. Okay, this one I'm calling the realistic one. This is this is quite the labor of love. Remember, sped up times 2. But I wanted to create a lot of variety in the wreaths, just as I do with any class where I'm using one shape, like as much variety as possible, with realistic, with kind of more abstract. This one here, I was a little worried it was going to take 5 years to do. It doesn't take 5 years, but maybe it takes like 2. I can't remember if this was 6 minutes or 10 minutes, but it might have been more like 6 minutes, which is not too bad. For me, it might take you 10 minutes, but I digress. So we're working with the first layer here. And as you can see, as I'm piping these branches, leaves, whatever these are called, I'm not trying to fill them in because it's not necessary. This is just the first layer. There's going to be more stuff on top of this. Also, I think it's important with this design to leave a little bit of white. What is that? White space? White area? I'm blanking. My mom's a painter. She's like, Grace, come on, you know that term. I used to know white space. I think that's what it is. It's going to look too crowded if you cover literally every millimeter of this cookie, in my personal opinion. But you do want to cover enough of it because I'm not putting anything down on that cookie to preserve it. One of the things that this royal icing does is it actually like preserves the surface of the cookie. It keeps it from drying out. So you want to cover enough of the cookie so that it like gets protected, but not too much. Some people who do this kind of design where they're exposing the cookie might even like paint the cookie with a very thin, very, very, very thin layer of icing that is like the color of the cookie. I've done that before. Didn't feel like it was necessary in this case. So as you can see here, I'm pulling out that sweater technique again. This time it's the mint green. I was really pleased with myself. My mom was like, oh, you can see all the different kinds of trees in here, balsams and somethings and somethings. And I'm like, I have no idea what kind of tree this one is. I just thought it looked cute. Oh, you know what? We do this technique 4 times. I forgot about that. 4 of the 6 cookies use this technique. So you're either going to love me or hate me by the end of this. Okay. These are just like berry blobs. I don't know, berry clusters. Do it to your heart's content. Whatever looks good to you. I'm using it to kind of fill in spaces, to give a little pop of color. It just kind of lays on top and wherever you decide it should go. As you can see, boop, boop. And there we go. Voila. All right, next one. This is the branches one, I think. So not going to lie, outlining the center of the donut is the most annoying part. I didn't realize how annoying it was going to be. You definitely don't have to use a donut cutter. I just liked it for a little bit of variety, especially like it for the beginner class. I feel like it makes them look like wreaths a lot easier than if you do a circle. And like the designs, some of these designs translate very easily to a full circle, and some of them are just a little harder to get that circular shape, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. Okay. This one here, so I showed these designs to my mom, or like the samples, and my mom was like, this one needs more branches. I'm like, Mom, it does not need more branches. This is the point of this design. It's supposed to have exposed cookie. It has so much exposed cookie which is why I flooded the background of it instead of leaving it exposed. The goal with those branches is to make them look messy. Like you want them to overlap in different ways. You don't want it to look consistent. This part here, I'm just kind of covering to my heart's content, honestly. You can see I changed up my piping technique for this one because I was like, y'all, I ain't got time to be doing like all of those little leaf spriggy, whatever they're called. Then just adding a second layer of whatever this kind of tree is. I don't know. Is the balsam the one on the bottom, the dark green? I don't know. And then adding some berries. So you have some themes too, right? Like the different kinds of trees are kind of consistent. All right, this one here makes my heart happy because I can do this technique in my sleep. Not in my sleep, that's traumatic. But this is what I would consider one of the fastest designs from this set. So if I was making this set of cookies and I was doing a lot of cookies, I'd probably make more of this one than I would of any of the other ones, because if you make the tip of that bag big enough, you can crank this out in no time. I mean, even here, I'm just talking. And you don't even have to do the next step I'm about to do. No, sorry, you do need to add the edible glitter. It does, chef's kiss, add so much to it. But I'm adding some, I don't know, are these berries? Very intentionally placed the first set there to do it at the like beginning and the end juncture, because that's the most awkward part of this cookie. It's really hard to kind of nestle in the very end of that. When I was filming the class for this, I kind of accidentally made this cookie way too fat. So like the piping was so big that there was no room on the outside edge to put those little white berries, which is not the end of the world. It's not a problem. I just made a point. I was like, don't be like me. Do it how I did the sample. I prefer this look better. I like a little bit of exposed cookie around it. And then the little white berries on the outside edge makes my heart happy. I think this is the last cookie. So this is also a wet on wet one. And remember, we're playing around with different wet on wet for this. There's like a million different ways that you can do a wreath wet on wet. And I really had to sit down with these designs and be meticulous, or not meticulous, whatever. Intentional, that's the word I was looking for, with the designs I wanted to choose, because there were so many options that made my heart so happy. This is what I landed on, clearly, for the wet on wet. What I love about these wet on wet designs for these wreaths is that they are so forgiving. Like, they're a lot more forgiving than you might think. And I think it's because of the, after you place all these lines or whatever you're doing, then you just drag a scribe through it a whole bunch of times. And that really just makes everything kind of melt together and look really cool. So here we go. I don't know how many times I end up doing this, but the more the merrier, I think, because it really like makes everything go swoosh, like around and around and around. Okay. Oh man. I love the little pop of red here. Y'all, it looks good. Okay, this is a little silly though. You're gonna be like, Grace, why did you do that wet on wet? You're gonna see in a second. Okay. Because we finished this off with making the big ones actually 3D. You don't have to do this, but I just think it adds a little extra something, because I thought this cookie needed something. The other one had some 3D, the other wet on wet had some 3D berries and the bow. This one I felt like it needed something to finish it that was 3D, not just the wet on wet. So that's it. Again, this is my advanced Christmas wreaths class. It's linked in the description of the video if you want to go check it out. If this is too much for you, no problem. I have the beginner version called Beginner Christmas Wreaths. And as always, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I cannot wait to see you for the next video. Bye, y'all.